Thank you for everyone that's watching this. This is going to be a presentation on Microsoft Immersive Reader. My name is Matt Douglas. I work supporting schools throughout California with our learning tools, especially with accessibility, with Microsoft Teams, with Onenote Class Notebook. So I'll be walking through a few of the different tools that we have Immersive Reader built into today. We're going to go briefly over accessibility in Teams and Microsoft 365 in general. Go ahead and define what an Immersive Reader is. We'll do a live demonstration in OneNote, and then I'll also take the time to showcase how Immersive Reader looks in tools like Microsoft Word or within Teams. And then if there's anyone here that has questions and answers at the end, I will go ahead and address those. And if not, I'll have my contact information at the end of the presentation so people can reach out to me later. So one of the key tenets in Microsoft education and within Teams and Microsoft 365 is to ensure students are kept engaged in a safe and inclusive learning environment. And so we have a bunch of these free learning tools built into various programs that we have that are platform agnostic. The main one we're going to go over is Immersive Reader today, but it utilizes some of the other tools that we have built into various programs, such as Microsoft Translate, live captioning in meetings, which I realize is not turned on, so let me get that turned on. We also have an accessibility checker to ensure that documents are more easily read by screen readers and more accessible to a wider audience, so you're creating more inclusive content. And then we also have things like Immersive Reader built into our math assistant. Immersive Reader specifically is a tool that helps improve reading comprehension in a variety of different ways. It increases fluency for students, builds confidence for emerging readers, whether they're looking to just increase their reading comprehension level, or maybe they're learning a new language and need to use Immersive Reader in conjunction with some of the translation tools to get more fluent at that second or third language. It offers some tools to promote text decoding, such as a picture dictionary and the ability to separate words syllabically to help support students with learning differences. And then it also provides translation in over 60 different languages so that these tools are accessible not only to native English speakers, but students across the globe. The thing that I really like about it is because it's built in to a lot of our Microsoft software, whether that be OneNote, whether that be Microsoft Teams. There's no additional add-ons that students or educators have to update to their device or download to get these. It's the same tools that everyone in the classroom has access to, so there's no need for a student to raise their hand asking for additional assistance. It's totally non-stigmatizing, and it empowers them to use the tools that they need to achieve learning. I'm going to go ahead and start with a demo in OneNote. Since I know Modesto City Schools uses OneNote quite a bit, and that's my favorite way to use Immersive Reader because it's got the full feature set. So I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation here and bring the captioning up here so that people still have access to that. Oh, okay. So we have in OneNote Class Notebook or the regular OneNote app, you'll see when we're in the View tab, we have access to the Immersive Reader button. I'll start with the syllabus that I have here because it's a bit more rich with text, but you'll see I have on this OneNote page, I have a sample syllabus from a teacher that was created. Maybe the student needs a little bit of additional assistance, maybe need some extra tools to better understand the content that's included here. So if they go ahead and click Immersive Reader, it's going to open up a full screen view that allows them to modify what the text looks like. You'll see it's already eliminated a lot of the distractions, such as some of the colors and the unnecessary information on the side panels, so that the student can focus in on the content on the page. And we've got several different buttons here. I'm going to navigate from left to right. The play button down here allows the student or the educator access to the read aloud feature. That's going to turn on a narrator, and they have narrator options right here. They can adjust the voice speed and make it slower or faster as they see fit. And then it can also choose between a female and a male voice, whichever they're more comfortable with. Some students that I've worked with in the past that might be learning with ADHD find that they're able to pay more attention to the material when they're able to increase the speed so that they're not getting distracted. It minimizes distractions, they're able to focus on the content, and they're able to retain more of the information. Other students, maybe as they're building confidence, they'd like to start off at a slower narration speed and then graduate and work their way up as they build more confidence. However, the student or the educator or the user would like to be able to use the tool, they're empowered to do so at their own will. When they click the play button, you may not be able to hear the narration there, but you can see the speed at which it's rating everything. I can go ahead and click, or if I'm on a touchscreen device, I can use my finger to select the portion of the text that I'd like to have read aloud. So if I need to jump across the document to multiple different paragraphs, I can scroll through and just have the narration queued up wherever I see necessary. Over here on the left-hand side, the two A's you see are going to be text preferences. On the fly, the user has the ability to adjust the size of the text. So if they would like to see more of the content on page at once, or if they'd like to draw their focus into just a few words at a time, they have the ability to navigate that on the fly. There's also this button here to increase or decrease spacing. So when it's not enabled, this is what the text is going to look like, your more standard spacing. Increasing the spacing adds a little more space in between each character, which can really help with reading comprehension. Students that may be learning with dyslexia may find that this is a tool that allows them to access more of the, understand more of the content and keep up with the speed of the class. Microsoft's also selected a couple different fonts that we can adjust to on the fly. A font like Comic Sans has been proven to improve reading comprehension for some students that are dealing with learning challenges. And so having that ability to modify it and put it in a font type that's more comfortable to them empowers them to learn the material and they're able to do it at their own fingertips without needing to ask for the material to be presented or printed off a second time. They also have the ability to use the themes here. Maybe they need high contrast settings. Some that are learning with dyslexia find that a pastel background can also assist with reading comprehension. And there's several more colors in this drop-down menu down below. So they can customize the look wherever they feel more comfortable. Maybe they prefer the sepia theme. I'm going to go ahead and use the light theme just so we can see some of the color differences and some of the other options. Over here in grammar options, this is some relatively new stuff that I think is really neat. This top option gives users the ability to separate words syllabically. So you'll see here with a word like algebra, there's a dot in between each syllable so that it helps with maybe pronunciation, reading comprehension. We can use it to build confidence over time. Users also have the ability to color code parts of speech. So let's say I use this drop-down menu and I would like all the nouns on this page to be colored orange. I can go ahead and select the color I'd like using this drop-down menu, and then when I toggle it on, you'll see the nouns are all color-coded. I can use the Show Labels button, and we'll actually have a designation N above each noun, so the user has further visual feedback indicating to them what's a noun, what's a verb. I think this is useful not only for students that are trying to build their reading comprehension in their native language, but this is a really powerful tool for students that might be learning a second or third language, to better be able to differentiate between a noun, a verb, an adjective, and an adverb. You can have multiple or all four of these turned on simultaneously, and you can adjust the colors on the fly. Maybe some of these colors don't work well with the sepia background if I change the background earlier. So you have the choice to change these colors as needed to fit your own personal preferences. Over here in the far right corner, we also have the reading preferences button where we can toggle line focus. If I toggle line focus, I have 3 different options. I can have the computer show me one line at a time, and I can use the arrow keys here on the right-hand side to navigate through the document. If I want to draw my attention to just one line at a time to improve reading comprehension, maybe as I build confidence, I start graduating to 3 lines at a time. And I'm able to still read in chunks, but maybe if I'm feeling a bit more comfortable with the material, if I'm feeling a bit more comfortable with the speed of the class, I can use this 3 lines. Maybe as we grow with further confidence, we can use 5 lines at a time, and you still have the ability to navigate through the text in chunks at a time. One thing that I think is really great is that the line focus is going to work in conjunction with some of these other tools that I mentioned before. So you'll see as I'm increasing the spacing here, it's going to adjust the line focus because the text is so large. But as I make it a bit smaller, I can go back, increase the size of the text being displayed and the portion that I can view at any one given time. And it's working with that color coding tool. It's working with the syllabic separation. So you can use as many or as few of the features as you'd like to adapt the text to your needs. There's also a picture dictionary, which is currently toggled on. So if I click a word like problem, it'll give me some pictures, oftentimes one, but sometimes multiple pictures. That'll give me some context to provide a visual definition for the word that I'm curious about. I can also use this button here to hear how the word is pronounced. And you'll see in just a moment, it's also compatible with our translation tools. So I can hear the pronunciation in the original text, and I can hear the translated pronunciation as well. They're continually expanding the number of words that are supported by the picture dictionary, but there's thousands upon thousands of words that are already supported. Down below, we have the ability to translate. I have Spanish selected here, and I have it selected by word at the moment. You saw as I was clicking on these individual words, I can see the Spanish translation, and I have that ability to hear what the pronunciation sounds like. Maybe my reading comprehension is reasonably good, but I'm having a really difficult time speaking it. I think this is still a really valuable tool for students to use so that they can improve their pronunciation. You also have the ability to translate the entire document. So I'll go ahead and enable that here. It'll take a second to translate the entire document, but you'll see now at the very top of the page, I have the ability to bounce between the original text that was provided and the translated text. The color coding, the parts of speech being highlighted, the syllabic separation are all still available. I can still use line focus using the translated text. I can even still use the read aloud feature, and it's still going to allow me to use that narrator, but I'm just going to get the narrator in the translated language. This drop-down menu you can see here, there are over 60 different languages that are supported by Immersive Reader, so it makes these tools accessible to a really wide variety of students. I'll pause here to see if there's any questions. I see there's some blinking on Teams right now. Anything in the chat, John?
I didn't see any.
Okay, great. So that's Immersive Reader within OneNote. I can use the back button up here in the top left, and that'll bring me back to the original page. If we go over here to some of the forms that I have created, Immersive Reader is also built into a lot of the other Microsoft Education tools. I'll bring up an example of Microsoft Form, which is an assessment tool or a poll tool that's built into Office 365 for education. You'll see here next to each question, there's a book icon with a speaker. If I go ahead and click here, it's going to open up Immersive Reader for this particular question. And I have the ability to use the read aloud feature and have access to that narrator. I also have all those other options we mentioned earlier, the ability to change the font, to dynamically change the text size, the ability to color code parts of speech. That's all still available. And the read aloud feature recognizes math equations as well. And then you'll see, in order to submit the form, I do want to go back and select the multiple choice question, and then I can use the Immersive Reader to help my reading comprehension for the next question. So it's built into a lot of the other online tools that we have available. I like showing it off in OneNote first because A, every single feature that's compatible with Immersive Reader is in OneNote, and B, a lot of websites that are on the internet aren't necessarily built with accessibility in mind. So a lot of built-in accessibility tools within web browsers don't really work well for websites. But if you're able to copy and paste the text from those websites into Immersive Reader, it's a tool that works on any platform that any student, educator, or parent can have access to ensure any text they're looking at online can be accessible. Some of the other things that I wanted to showcase, I've got an example here of Microsoft Teams. This is an example of a threaded conversation in the post channel or in the post tab in a channel on Microsoft Teams. And if we hover over a thread in Microsoft Teams, I can look at the contextual menu, the ellipses that's brought up here in the top right. And one of the drop-down options I'm going to have is A, the ability to translate if maybe I would like to have everything presented in a different language, or I can turn on Immersive Reader. It's going to open up that thread in Immersive Reader. I still have access to all those tools we mentioned before, but now I'm able to participate in the class discussion. I'm able to understand all the conversation that's going on. If I do need that ability to translate on the fly, I have that ability. So if I need more than just the translation, I can go ahead and open this up in Immersive Reader, and then I can go back and reply to this thread as needed or start a new conversation if I'd like to. That stuff's all built into Teams. If I go into the chat feature here on the left side, maybe you're having a conversation with one of your students using the chat feature. Maybe there's a group discussion going on outside the entire class. If I hover over the text bubbles here, I can go ahead and bring up Immersive Reader the same way I could with the post section. So Teams allows for all the same accessibility that you would get in OneNote. That way, the collaborative aspect of Microsoft Teams, no students getting left behind. We also have in this tab right here using Microsoft Edge, which is has been recently updated. It's using Chromium-based web browsers, so it's going to be very similar to Google Chrome. It's just built into the Windows 10 platform, and it's available for download on other platforms as well. You'll see when I go to a website like this, I've got an icon right here in the URL bar where I can turn on the Immersive Reader. You'll take a look on this page. I selected this one because there's quite a bit of visual distraction here. The text is in this column in the middle, but there's several different links on the side. There's some advertisements that are popping up. When I'm clicking the Immersive Reader in the web browser, it eliminates all those distractions. All the pictures that are relevant to the article or the content that I'm looking at are still available, so the user's not missing out on anything that's important to the content, but they have that ability to modify what the text looks like. They'll have that ability to read aloud, and then they can choose the speed of the narration over here in voice options. They also have the text preferences where they can change the size of the text or increase the text spacing. Maybe we want to change the color theme. Maybe I have an easier time reading on a green background. I still have that ability to color code all the parts of speech and split words into syllables. And then I still have that translation tool as well, whether I want to translate words or the entire page. You'll see it does look a little bit different than what it does in OneNote, and not every single website is going to support Immersive Reader, but anything that's not really anything that's using HTML and doesn't have a bunch of maybe embedded PDFs should support this. That's built into Microsoft Edge, which you can import all your Chrome bookmarks and all your Chrome plugins, and that'll work there. If you have a Windows 10 device, it's already built in there. I also want to showcase here, I'll bring up Microsoft Word. I took that same syllabus that I had earlier in Microsoft Office. Using the View tab, you'll see we've got Immersive Reader. So maybe the student downloads a handout like a syllabus, or there's an assignment and they'd like the ability to use the Immersive Reader. They can click the button there, and then we've got a lot of those same customization options. You've got that narrator there, the ability to separate by syllables. You can increase the text spacing. You still have the ability to use line focus. You still have the ability to change the page color, and you can also modify the column width. Maybe it's a bit easier to read with fewer distractions if I'm focusing on a very narrow column. Maybe some students have the confidence where maybe they go to a moderate view and we just have slightly wider margins here on the sides. However they'd prefer to look at it, they have the ability to modify that on their own. And then when they're done using the Immersive Reader, they can go ahead and close it out. Maybe they need the Immersive Reader for the reading comprehension component, but find that they're more comfortable composing documents in the standard view. This will bring them back so they have the standard ribbon to change the font type, change the font size, so on and so forth. Go ahead and bring up my presentation right here. That's the end of the content there. You're going to see there's Immersive Readers available in some other tools that I haven't showcased today, things like Sway, Flipgrid, or even Minecraft Education Edition. The feature set's a little bit different across several different tools, but the feature parity is becoming more and more one-to-one. If you're interested in to see a breakdown of how the features are different from program to program, that middle link we have on the slide, aka.ms/immersive reader flyer, has a great chart that it breaks down which features are accessible depending on your platform or your program. I like showing it off in OneNote because OneNote is accessible through a web browser, so anyone on a Windows, an Apple, or a Chrome device has full access to all the features in Immersive Reader. If they're using Word, they may have some limitations, but most of the really popular features are still there, and they're continuing to expand on the features that are available in some of those other Office applications. The top link we have there, aka.ms/accessibility, has some guides on how to better create documents with accessibility in mind, or how to create presentations with accessibility in mind, and has some guides on how to access some of these features across the variety of programs or platforms that you might be using. The last link we have there, aka.ms/accessibility checker, gives you access into Microsoft documentation on accessibility checker, which is built into Word. I'll go ahead and bring that up really quick so you can see what that looks like. On the review tab here, whether this is in PowerPoint, whether this is in Word, or even OneNote, you're going to have the option to check accessibility here. It's going to open up a pane on the right-hand side. This particular document doesn't have much that's considered inaccessible, but maybe if this had a few more pictures in it, I might get some warnings that there isn't alt text in the picture, allowing me to have better compatibility with the screen reader. if you're creating text documents and you want to ensure it's accessible to people that may not want to use Immersive Reader, but maybe just need some higher contrast settings or might need a more easy to comprehend font, you'll get warnings over here on the right-hand side as you're working, so you can keep accessibility in mind as you're creating course materials, handouts, or other documents. If you want to learn more about that, aka.ms/accessibility checker shows you how to turn that on in Office, and I think it's a really valuable tool, especially if you're presenting, say, a PowerPoint presentation or a document to a wider audience. Finally, at the bottom, my contact info is there. If you have any questions about where to find some of these tools or finding documentation about particular features, please feel free to reach me via email or at that phone number. I'm available Monday through Friday, and I do occasionally check my email or check my emails on the weekends, and I'll try to help out wherever I can. And if I don't have the answers, I'll try to get you connected with someone that can. I'll pause.